All right. Thank you. So what we are going to look at today is time and work. And honestly speaking, when I was making the sheet for time and work, I had a bit of trouble. Reason being that I realized that there's not much talk about on time and work in terms of the concepts that need to be used. Unitary maths is something that needs to be used. Also, what we need to understand is that there can be questions which can be framed where solving equations turns out to be a challenge for you. These are the only two challenges. As far as the concept is concerned, there's nothing much to learn there in terms of any formula is there, or any big deal is there to understand. That's not there, right? So plain and simple, to my mind, if I would look at a question of time and work on the CAT paper, I would definitely want to read that question and try that question out until unless the equations turns out to be in such a way that I'm not even able to solve those equations. But giving a 1.5 to 2 minutes of time is justified, and in most of the cases you will realize that the questions are to a great extent doable. I do concede the fact that you can make questions which are difficult to solve by equations, by making equations which are difficult to comprehend, which are difficult to solve. All of that is possible. And one of those kind of questions is present in the exercise sheet today as well. And that's a question coming from the CAT paper, right? So you need to understand that solving equations might turn out to be a challenge, nothing more than that. Okay. Second thing that we need to understand over here is that there is an approach which is very elementary approach that one can use towards solving these questions. There is another approach where you presume something as the total unit of work, and with that you try to solve the question. To my mind, wherever I can presume something as the total unit of work or presume units of work for any of the individuals, that makes my life a little bit more easier. Now, some of these students have got reservations against this and they say that we don't want to do it that way. It's absolutely fine to do it anyways, but ensure that you are not consuming too much of a time in the approach that you are taking in order to solve the question. I do concede another fact that it might take about a 2.5 minutes to solve a question of time and work. But if you have practiced sufficiently well, then I believe it's a good bet on the paper that you will get the question right. It's just that it might take a little time for you to solve the question. That's all, right? So on that note, without any further delay, I would get into the exercise sheet today directly rather than giving you any conceptual part of it, because I don't feel there is anything which is concept related on this particular topic for that matter. So let's look at the first question and try this out. Take your time. Okay, that's surprising. I was thinking that this question would become easy for you to solve, but then quite a lot of different answers and very surprising to me. On which day will the work be completed? So that's an integer day that you are going to talk about. So there's no point talking about fractions as the answer. Okay. I have got several of these answers, and I'll read out the answers so that you understand what kind of an answers are we getting. And when once I solve it, you should realize that people find it difficult. And this is very surprising for me to look at the answers of this particular question. The answers have been 21, 15, 29, 21 again, 60, 24 by 5. Then you have got 23, 20.8, 21, 22. All of those, 36 has been an answer, 18 has been an answer. All of those kind of answers I've got. That's very interesting. I was thinking that this question will turn out to be on an easier side, but let's understand this. A can finish a piece of work in 20 days. A can finish a piece of work in how many days? A can finish the piece of work in 20 days. B can finish the same piece of work in 30 days. The moment I look at this 20 days and 30 days, I would want to take something as the total unit of work, and my total unit of work that I would want to take is going to be equals to 60. If I take 60 as the total unit of work, then I would say A will do how many units per day? 3 units per day, and B will do 2 units per day. This is a simple unitary maths that all of you should be aware about by now. Okay. So 3 and 2 is the total unit of work. Now look at this. If A starts the work and works every alternate day, A is starting the work. That means on the first day, A is definitely working and works on every alternate days. So on the second day, it is not working. On the third day, it is working. On the fourth day, it is not working. On the fifth day, it is working. Then it is not working on the sixth day. Seventh day, it is working. Eighth day, it is not working. So on and so forth. That is how it is working. So the extended you write a particular series, the better it is. It will make you very, very comfortable during the paper. So that is why I've written so many rights and wrongs for A, that all it gives me a clear visibility. Right now, look at B. B joins on the second day, taking a break of a day after every two consecutive days. So if you look at B, B joins on the second day. That means first day B was not working. On the second day B is working. On the third day B is working, and then on the fourth day B is not working. On the fifth day B is working. Sixth day it is working. Seventh day it is not working. So on and so forth. Correct? So it is working and then it is not working. So that is what it says, on which day the work will get completed. Now, on all such questions, in order to increase the complexity of this question, what they can do is, they can, instead of taking one person or two persons over here, they can make it three of them or four of them or five of them. The thing that you need to understand is, one particular cycle for individual A over here was how many days? 2 days. One particular cycle for the individual B was how many days? 3 days. Right now, understand this thing. A has got a 3 day cycle and B has got a 2 day cycle. B is working one day out of these 2 days, and C is work and sorry, A is working one day out of these 2 days, and B is working 2 days out of these 3 days. So if I want to figure out that when will the cycle restart, this is the starting point of the cycle, similar point where it will be. One way of doing this is to manually do this, but at a lot of time it will turn out to be very, very challenging. In that case, I will take the LCM of these two numbers. LCM turns out to be what? 6. That means what? If I take 6 days for B and if I take 6 days for A, look at this. You will realize that the seventh day, this series is once again starting. You look at this, A is working and B is not working. When is this happening next? It is working on the seventh day. That means it is a cycle of 6 days each that you are looking at. So in one cycle, which is of how many days? 6 days. A has worked how many days? A has worked for 3 days. And A was working how many units per day? 3 units per day. Correct? So how many units of work will be done by A? 3 into 3. Similarly, B would have worked how many days? B would have worked for 4 days, because in every cycle of 3 days, it is working 2 days. There are two such cycles. So you are looking at 4 days of work by B, and each day B is finishing how many units? 2 units. So can I then simply say that it is going to be 17 units of work done in how many days? 6 days. If you take another set of 6 days, if you take another set of 6 days, it is going to give you another 17 units. So I will try to go as close as possible to the 60 as a multiple of 17. 17 into 3 will turn out to be what? 51 units. If it is into 3, then for the number of days also, I will multiply it by 3. So what will happen? In 18 days, 51 units will get over. Now, how many units are left? 9 units are left. Correct? Now, look at this. 19th day will be same as the first day, because my cycle was ending on the 18th day. So the 19th day will be same as the first day. And on the first day, who is working? A is working. So A is doing how many units? 3 units. On the second day, B alone is working, which is the 20th day in our series, and that will get done with 2 units. What about the third day? The third day, both of them are working, which is going to be 5 units, and our work will get over on which day? On 21st day. So how many days it will take? On which day the work will get over? 21. Understand this thing, that to my mind, either this question, if it is present on the CAT paper, will be a theta question, or it will have options, which will be like 20, 21, 22, 23. The worst scenario is what? To mark 22 as the answer. That's the worst possible answer to my mind, because you were absolutely correct till that point in time, right? Another bad choice would be 20 days to mark, right? So please be very, very careful while solving such questions. I hope we all are clear with this. There was book material had some questions with fractions answer, and so did classroom exercise video solution. Maybe it's time. It's for time taken. I might be wrong. Now, fair Rajni, there might be questions, but during the exam, you will realize either you will have exact options, or they will give you in what units, how you have to answer. So it will not be a problem for you. Don't worry about that. It will be convenient. Let's move on to question number two. Take a minute, try and solve this, and then we move on. Good, most of you have given me the correct answers for this particular question. Okay, let's have a look at this particular question. It says that A can finish a piece of work in 7 days. So if I look at A and the number of days is what they've given it to you, let's have a look at this and try and understand. A is doing the work in 7 days. Sir, if we use the fraction method for first, I'm getting 18 days. Nikhil, that's not possible. There must be some mistake that you are doing while doing that question. Either of the methods have to give you the same answer. It's not possible. Okay. Please check the answer once again. A can finish a piece of work in 7 days and is twice as fast as B. A is twice as fast as B. That means B would finish the work in how many days? B would finish the work in 14 days. That is when you will say A is twice as fast as B. Now B takes half the number of days that C takes to finish the work. So if you look at C will take what? 28 days. Why? Because B is taking half the number of days taken by C to finish the work. So C must be finishing the work in 28 days. D takes 4 times the number of days taken by B to complete the work. D takes 4 times the number of days. That means D takes 56 days to finish the work. Right? If any three of them are allowed to work together, what will be the sum of maximum and minimum number of days required to finish the work? Right? You can look at these number of days and can take an LCM of these number of days to come down to what? Total unit of work. So once again, I am coming down to total unit of work as what? 56 units. 56 units is the total unit of work. Why? Because 7, 14, 28, and 56, all of this, the LCM will turn out to be 56. So can I now look at the number of units per day for each one of them? If I look at the number of units per day for each one of them, A would do 8 units, B would do 4 units, C would do 2 units, and D will do 1 unit per day. This will be the number of units of work done per day for each one of them. Right? If any three of them are allowed to work, what will be the maximum and the minimum number of days required to finish the work? Now, if I look at the minimum number of days required to finish the work, you will have to pick the three most efficient individuals. Efficiency would be in with respect to what? Units of work done per day. So who are those three most efficient out of the four? A, B, and C. So they are finishing how many units per day? They are finishing 14 units per day. 14 units per day. Correct? Now, to do 56 units, they will require how many days? 56 by 14, which is going to be 4 days. This will be the least possible number of days as a group that they will take to finish the work. What about the maximum possible number of days? You will have to pick the least efficient individuals who are B, C, and D in this particular case. They are doing how many units per day? 7 units per day is what they are doing, right? So how many days it will take? 56 by 7, you are going to find 8 days. Correct? So what is going to be the sum of these two values? 8 plus 4, that turns out to be 12. That should be the answer. Most of you had given me the correct answer. That's absolutely lovely to see this. Let's move on. Try and look at question number 3. Take your time. All of you have given me the correct answers for this. And I hope when you've solved, you should realize that this is a question coming from CAT 2021 paper. Last 2 to 3 years of paper, we've seen that the paper has become slightly more difficult. I do not consider any of those papers as very easy papers as far as quant is concerned, and you can understand what kind of questions are present on the paper. These are very practical questions to my mind, and that's the beauty of the CAT paper, that after the paper, if I give you the question paper and give you sufficient time to solve this, out of 22 questions, you will be able to at least solve 16, 17, 18 if you have prepared really well. You will not find those questions to be very challenging. The only thing is what you need to do it very, very quickly. Sir, if any three of them are allowed to work together, doesn't mean three of them necessarily have to work together, right, sir? So maximum days will be uh, Rupakeshwar, they are saying any three of them are allowed to work. That means three of them will have to work. There's no problem with the language. It is something that is a problem with your understanding. There have to be exactly three people working on this, right? So that's something that I can tell you, and there's absolutely no problem with the language of that question. Okay. Now Amar, Akbar, and Anthony are working on a project. So now because all three of them are starting with A, so I'm going to write AM to differentiate AK, Akbar, and Anthony will have A and T. My M looks like M. So I'm looking at three words. Now, three letters. Now, working together, Amar and Akbar can complete a project in 1 year. Amar and Akbar can complete the project in how much time? They can complete the job in 1 year. Akbar and Anthony can complete it in 16 months. Akbar and Anthony can complete it in how many months? 16 months. Now, earlier it was given to you as 1 year. So let me convert the 16 months to year, and I would realize that this will be 4 by 3 of an year that it takes for Akbar and Anthony to finish the work. Anthony and Amar can complete the job in 2 years. So first and the last one, both together, they can finish the job in 2 years, right? Now, let me say Amar does A units per year, Akbar does B units per year, and Anthony does C units per year. So if Amar and Akbar are working together, they'll do A plus B units in 1 year, and they are finishing the job in 1 year. So this should become the total unit of work. Similarly, Akbar and Anthony are finishing the job in 4 by 3 of an year. Individually, they do B and C. So B plus C will be the total work done in 1 year, and multiplied by 4 by 3 will give you the total work done, right? Take 12, 16, and 24. Easy math. Yes, it is fair enough. 12, 16. So you are converting this 1 year as 12 and 2 years as 24. That is also pretty doable, and that makes sense to my mind. There's absolutely no problems from here in the approach, but let me finish it with the help of the approach that I'm looking at over here. So 2 times of A plus C is what we are looking at. Equating any of these two will give you the equations, and A, B, C are the three variables that you are looking at. You have to just first figure out who is neither the fastest nor the slowest worker, and then look at the answer from that perspective. Okay. So if I take the A plus B is equals to 4 by 3 times of B plus C, I will say 3A plus 3B is equals to 4B plus 4C that you are looking at. And then post this, what you can do is 3A is equals to B plus 4C. So B turns out to be equals to 3A minus of 4C. I think so what Soumya said, it makes more sense. I'm used to solving it this way, so I'm solving it. But what she has said is that you could have taken 12, 16, and 24 as the number of months that each one of them as a group has taken to finish the work, and can proceed with that particular approach also. Now you can equate A plus B is equals to 2A plus 2C as well. You will realize that the value of B turns out to be equals to A plus 2C, and B also turns out to be 3A minus 4C. So equate it as 3A minus of 4C is equals to A plus 2C. You will realize that you can get the value of A in terms of C. So 2A turns out to be equals to 6C, and A turns out to be equals to 3C. If A turns out to be equals to 3C, I put it over here, I'll get the value of B in terms of C again. So it is turning out to be 9C minus of 4C. So B turns out to be equals to 5C, and C does C units. So who is the fastest? B is the fastest. Who is the slowest? C is the slowest. Who is neither the fastest nor the slowest is A, which is doing 3C units every year. Right now, if the person who is neither the fastest nor the slowest alone, then the time in months that he will take to complete the work. So if you look at the time taken to complete the work, it is the total work A plus B, let's say, and divide that value by the amount of work done by A in 1 year, which is 3C, right? This is the time that we want. A value is turning out to be equals to 3C, and B is turning out to be 5C. So you are looking at 8C by 3C as your time. C gets cancelled out. 8 by 3 of an year, multiply this by 12. So you are going to get 32 months as your answer to this question. But I do concede, if you're sitting back at home, try and do it with 12, 16, and 24. That makes more sense. You can take the LCM as the total unit of work and can try to do the question. Let's move on. Try question number 4. Take your time. Yes, probably at the end of the session, I will go back to that question. Just remind me once, and I will go back and try and do it. That Rajni expected error of not reading the question properly. They were the same error you have also made of not reading the question properly. And Soumya has also made the same error of not reading the question properly. And I was expecting this when I was making the question. I realized that people will make that mistake, and that is why I gave you that options also. Now, three of them who have answered this particular question have gotten it incorrect. The thing that I want to tell you is that this is precisely what is going to happen on the actual paper also, that you are going to in a hurry read the question and make such mistakes. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Two girls and two boys can finish a piece of work in the same number of days. Two girls, let's say a girl is doing G units per day and a boy is doing B units per day. They're saying two girls and two boys can finish a piece of work in same number of days. So let me say that the number of days is D. That will give me the total unit of work. Same number of days as one girl and five boys. One girl and five boys can finish the work in the same number of days. Multiply the number of days, that should give me the total unit of work. Number of days will get cancelled out. You will get G in terms of B. So 2G plus 2B is equals to G plus 5B, and then G turns out to be equals to 3B. So a girl is thrice as efficient uh, as a boy. Okay. Now let's move on. If two girls and four boys complete the work for a certain amount, two girls, so that should be 2G as the number of as the units done by as a group of two girls, and four boys would do 4B units of work together, right? Now, let's say they're finishing the job in X number of days. I'm not concerned with how many days it is. So, as a group of girls, they will do how many units? 2GX. And as a boys group, how many units will they do? 4B into X. This will be the work done. Now, what is the ratio of the amount taken by girls and boys? So, total amount should be divided in this ratio itself, correct? And a girl is thrice as efficient as a boy. So take this value of G and replace it with B. You will get with 3B, you will get what? 6BX is to 4BX. X will get cancelled out, B will also get cancelled out. The ratio should be 3 is to 2. Option D, 3 is to 2 should be the answer, right? And I expect you to make a mistake of 3 is to 1 and 1 is to 3 kind of ratio by looking at this particular information that you are getting. And my sincere suggestion, when you are solving the questions, you should not take anything for granted. It's okay to read a question a bit more slowly. It's okay to take 30 more seconds in order to solve the question, but need to get everything right in your actual paper. It is quite possible. And several student every single year does this, which is to get 100% accuracy on quant also and on LRDI also. Whatever goes wrong on English, let it be. That's okay, right? So let's move on and look at this particular question. To my mind, this is going to take a little time, little more tedious question, and a type of question that is coming again from the CAT 23 paper. Slightly more difficult question to my mind. And difficulty is not from the concept perspective, but it is more from the perspective of solving the equations. Take a minute, read that so that it gets freshen up in your mind. Can you show the previous screen? Soumya, that's the previous screen. Once you are done, let me know quickly. Right. Try question number 5. Rishika, your answer does not seem to be correct. Muskan, Siddharth, Kaushik, all of you have given me the correct answer. Soumya, your answer is also not correct. Nikhil, the answer is not correct. Right. Let's have a look at question number 5. And this question is coming from CAT 23 paper. Slightly more lengthy question. Please bear with me while I'm solving this, and it might take a little time for us to solve the question. But let us understand how to go about doing this. Pipe A and C are fill pipes. So A and C are filling a tank, let's say. And while pipe B is a drain pipe that you are looking at. So pipe B is a drain pipe. I'm putting a minus sign so that it keeps me, I am able to keep that information in my head. Pipe B empties the full tank in 1 hour less than the time taken by pipe A to fill the empty tank. So let's say time taken by A is T hours, then the time taken by B turns out to be T minus 1 hour to empty the tank. That is given on the question itself. When pipe A, B, and C are turned on together, A, B, and C are turned on together, A and C are fill pipes, and B is the drain pipe. So in 1 hour, this is the unit of work that they will finish, right? Now, the empty tank can be filled in 2 hours effectively. So you multiply this by 2, you will get the total work. This is also one information that I can understand till this particular point. If pipe B and C are turned on together when the tank is empty, pipe B and C are being turned on together when the tank is empty, and pipe B is turned off after 1 hour. That means for the first hour, pipe B and C both were working. B is the pipe which is a drain pipe, and C is the fill pipe. So how much is the amount of work done by both of them put together in 1 hour? C minus B. This is the work done by both of them put together in 1 hour. Then pipe C takes another 1 hour 15 minutes to fill the remaining tank. 1 hour 15 minutes means 1 by 4 of an hour, which is 5 by 4 of an hour. So C takes 5 by 4 times of C, that is the number of units of work done by C in 5 by 4 hours to finish the work. Correct? So 5 by 4 C is should be added to C minus B in order to get that work. If pipe A can fill the tank in less than 5 hours, important information given to us, but as of now, I cannot do anything about it. Then the time taken in minutes by pipe C to fill the empty tank. Now, the information is not very difficult to comprehend. Question turns out to be slightly lengthy to read, that's fair. But the problem with this question is solving the equations turns out to be even more lengthy, right? Let me just frame those equations. Suppose A is the number of units of work done by the pipe A in 1 hour. C is the number of units of work done by pipe C in 1 hour, and B is the number of units of work done or work removed by pipe B in 1 hour. Correct? So what is the total work? Total work can be A times of T because A can fill the tank in T hours. This total work should be equals to B times of T minus 1 also because B is able to remove the entire tank in 1 hour less than A given on the question. This value should also be equals to 2 times of A plus C minus of B, correct? And that value should also be equals to this particular value, which turns out to be 9 by 4 times of C minus of B. So this is the set of equations that we have. There is no other information that we have. We just have to look at solving these equations. Typically speaking, when I have too many such equations, I would want to make it equals to a variable x, let's say, and try to bring everything in terms of x. Okay. So if I look at AT becomes equals to x. So to my mind, A becomes equals to x by t. Similarly, B times of t minus 1 turns out to be equals to x. So I'm going to take B as x by t minus 1. B as x by t minus 1. So I have A and B in terms of x and t. Now let me look at the third piece of information, 2 times of A. Now A I have in terms of x and t, so I'm using that. B also I have in terms of x and t, so I'm putting C over here. B turns out to be in terms of x and t minus 1 in the denominator. This value must turn out to be equals to x. So I can solve this and I can get the value of C in terms of x and t again. Okay. So what do I have? Let me take 2C over here, and I have x minus of 2x by t over here plus of 2x by t minus 1 over here. Okay. And if I want to remove 2 from everywhere, then what am I going to do? I'm going to say C is equals to, just a second. Yeah. C is equals to x by 2 minus of x by t minus of x by t minus 1 minus of x by t minus 1. That's the value of C also in terms of x and t. So I've got my A in terms of x and t, B also in terms of x and t, and just a second, Karthik, C in terms of x by 2 minus, and this should be plus. Sorry. Right. Thanks. Otherwise, I would have gone wrong the entire thing. Fair. C becomes equals to x by 2 minus x by t plus x by t minus 1. Now, look at this last piece. C is available in terms of x and t. B is also available in terms of x and t. I can put it over here and x will get cancelled out. You will get one equation in terms of t. We need to solve that and get down to our answers. That's what we intend to do. So 9 by 4 times of C is what you are looking at. So C was what? X by 2 minus of x by t plus of x by t minus 1. This is the value that you are getting for C. What was B? B over here was x by t minus 1. X by t minus 1. This value must be equals to x. You will realize every term has got an x in it. X can be cancelled. So if I remove x from the entire equation, I'm left with only t, and this will give me a quadratic equation. This then tells me that t must be less than 5 hours is what the question was talking about. So that gives me one more idea or one more information to use. Let's try and solve this. This will become 9 by 8 to start with, minus of 9 by 4t plus of 9 by 4 times of t minus 1 minus of 1 by t minus 1 and is equals to 1. Right? So let me just try to look at what can we do over here. 9 by 8 minus of 1 will turn out to be equals to 1 by 8. And you have a t minus 1 and a t minus 1. So let me write down this as 9 by 4t, and let me write down this as 5 by 4 times of t minus 1. And this turns out to be equals to 0. So we will try to solve this particular equation over here and take 8t minus 1 as your LCM, 8 times of t into t minus 1 as your LCM. And if you solve this further, then what do you get over here is t times of t minus 1 minus of 18 times of t minus 1 and 10 times of t is turning out to be equals to 0. So we will just try to solve this particular equation. 8t times of t minus 1 goes on the other side, becomes a 0. So I'm just copying the equation. T times of t minus 1 was one element. Second element was minus of 18 times of t minus of 1. That was the second element. And the third element was 10t. And that should turn out to be equals to 0. We have an equation over there. So instead, x can be assumed as the value 1. Yes, Ishan, you can do that. But once again, it's not going to really help you solve the question. So t square minus of t, because x is at the end of the day is getting cancelled. Minus of 18t plus of 18 plus of 10t turns out to be equals to 0. T square will turn out to be equals to minus of 19t plus of 10t. So this gives me minus of 90 plus of 18 turns out to be equals to 0. And 6 3s are 18 that you can solve over here. You will get t minus of 6, t minus of 3 to be equals to 0. So either t must be equals to 6 or t must be equals to 3. We realize that it is less than 5 hours. So t equals to 6 need to be rejected. T equals to 3 needs to be accepted. So that's the value we have for t with us. Let's go back and understand what is the question asking you. Then the time taken in minutes by pipe C to fill the empty tank. If you look at the pipe C to fill the empty tank, you are looking at the value of x divided by C. This is the answer that you are wanting to find out. Go back to the equations where you have the value of C. C is a value present over here. So now C by X is what we are looking at. So we will, or instead of using that, we will use this. This looks better, right? So let's try to solve this. C by X is the value that I'm initially getting. That should be equals to 1 by 2. That should be equals to 1 by 2. Sorry, 1 by 2. And then you have minus of X, 1 by T. So minus of 1 by 3 that you have, and then you have 1 by t minus of 1 plus of 1 by t minus of 1, which is going to be 2. So this is going to be 1 minus 1 by 3. That is going to be equals to 2 by 3 as the value of C by X. They are looking at the value of X by C. So if you look at the value of X by C, this is going to be 3 by 2 of an R. So 3 by 2 into 60, if you do, it is going to be 90 minutes as your answer. The question was asking you what, how much time in minutes it takes. So it is going to take 90 minutes. Now comes the next very legitimate question. That's a, do you want us to do these questions on the paper? Honestly speaking, I would not want you to solve this particular set of equation in the paper if you are gunning for a 99 kind of a percentile, because on the section, because this is going to consume a little more time, and this should be the last question to my mind that you should do on the paper, which is going to take so much of a time to solve the question. If you are a bit underconfident, you are not prepared on all the topics, this is one of these topics that you have prepared, you have very limited number of topics, then of course we will have to go ahead and solve this particular piece, because we will not have to spend time with the other set of questions as we are not prepared for it, right? So that's the solution for this, and option A, 90, happens to be the correct answer for this question. So can you explain the second equation? Shivam, second equation we are talking about, B is equals to T minus 1. Just say yes if that is what you are referring to. 2 times of A plus C minus of B. Now understand what is the question saying. When pipe A, B and C are turned on together, the empty tank is filled in 2 hours. So A, B and C all are turned on together, right? So B was the drain pipe and C was the fill pipe. So A plus C minus of B times of 2 should be equals to the total work. I don't think it should be a problem. And problem is that you are presuming A and B are fill pipes and C is the drain pipe, and that is where the problem is probably. I hope all of us are clear. Let's look at question number 6. Take your time. Those of you have written the initial few mocks, this is a question lifted from the mock. So can you tell how to choose the value, how we choose t value? Acha, understand this thing that they had told you in the question that it is less than 5 hours. For what? For A. A was taking what time? T hours, right? So it is less than 5 hours. And that is the reason why I chose the value, remove 6 and took 3. Question number 6 should not be difficult. It's a question coming from one of the mocks that we have conducted. I lifted it from there. All of you have given me the correct answers. Let's quickly solve this. In a plant, there are 2 types of workers, skilled workers and unskilled workers. A single skilled worker can complete the job in 18 hours. A skilled worker can finish the job in 18 hours, while an unskilled worker can finish the job in 72 hours. So 18 and 72, I take 72 as the total unit of work. And if I take 72 as the total unit of work, I will realize skilled laborer will be able to finish, will be able to do 4 units per hour, and unskilled worker will do 1 unit per hour. This is something that we are able to get down to very, very quickly. On a certain day, a specific number of skilled and unskilled workers worked together to complete the job in 4 hours. This is given to you that the work was over in 4 hours. So suppose there were A number of skilled workers and there were B number of unskilled workers. So the job done by A number of skilled worker will be 4A units. The job done by unskilled worker will be 1 time of B, which is B, and this should be multiplied by 4 in order to get the total work done, which is what? 72. So what do we get? We get 4A plus B is turning out to be equals to 18. That is the equation that we have. If the total number of workers was odd, now they are giving you total number of workers was A plus B, and they are telling you that that should be odd. What is the minimum possible number of workers who could have worked on it? Minimum possible number of workers who could have worked on it. That is what the question is. So you have to do what? You have to minimize this. Okay. Now we have only this equation available with us. Let's try to work through this. B turns out to be equals to 18 minus of 4A. Start choosing the value of A, get the value of B, look at the value of A plus B, and that has to be odd and minimum. That is what the question is telling us very clearly. So if I take the value of A as 1, then what will happen? 18 minus 4, which is going to be what? 14. So this is going to be 15, although odd, but minimum is the word also involved there. So I'll have to be careful. So let me take the value of A as 2. 4 into 2 becomes 8. So this will become 10. This will become 12, but this is even. Let's take the value of A as 3. 4 into 3, 12. 12 plus 18 minus of 12 will give me what? 6. And this will give me 9, which makes more sense to me. Take A as 4. 4 into 4 is 16. 18 minus of 16 will give you 2 and this will give me 6. Beyond this, it does not make sense. It does not make sense to make it 5 because b will become negative. So only two odd values is what we are looking at, 9 and 15. They want it to be minimum. The answer should be 9. So that should be the answer for this particular question. I hope no doubts on this. Clear, everyone? Let's move on. One last question. 7. Rajni, Soumya, both of you have given me the incorrect answers. The rest of you have given me the correct answer. Let's have a look at this. 3 men and 5 women decides to finish a work in 12 days. How many men are there? 3 men are there. 5 women are there. They decide to finish the work in how many days? 12 days. So that's the decision that they've taken. After 10 days, they realize that only 50% of the work is completed. So they've worked as a group. They worked for how many days? 10 days. And they realize that 50% of the work is over. Now, given that a man is twice as fast as women, this is an important information given to you, and you should do what? You should start presuming from there itself. Men and women is what we are talking about, and a man is twice as fast as a woman. So when men is doing 2 units, women will do 1 unit, right? Now they're saying 3 men would do what? 3 into 2 as a group, and 5 women will do it 5 into 1. So if you add this entire group in one day will do what? 11 units. And in 10 days, they finish 50% of the work. So in 10 days, they would have finished how many units? 110 units were finished in 10 days, but this was just 50% of the work. That means how much work is left over? If this is 50% of the work, then the leftover work must be 110 units, isn't it? The leftover work will be what? 110 units. And that now needs to get done in 2 days' time, right? Suppose there were X total number of men, right? And a man is doing 2 units. So as a group, all men put together will do 2x unit. They're not changing the number of women. So I'm taking the number of women as 5. So those women will do what? 5 units together. As a group, they will do 2x plus 5 multiplied by 2 should be equals to the leftover work. What is the leftover work? Again, 110 units. 2, 55. What will we get? 2x is equals to what? 50. X will be equals to what? 25. So there were, as a group, in this particular group which is working for last 2 days, there were 25 men total. What is the question asking you? How many more men should join the work? There should be 25 minus 3. That should be 22 more men should join the work. That should be the answer for question number 7. I hope all of us are clear with this. And my strong recommendation, you should look at time and work questions in the actual paper. Give it a minute and a half. In minute and a half, if you're dead certain how to do the question, move on and finish that particular question. If it has taken 2.5 minutes, you are still struggling with the equations, then I think it's time for you to move on and not attempt that question beyond a 2.5 minutes. If you're not certain, how will you get the answer? I hope that we all are clear. Day after tomorrow, once again, we will be meeting for time, speed, and distance question. So please explain the last part. Shivam, are we clear with up to this step? 2 times of 2x plus 5 should be equals to 110. Ishan, I'm explaining that. Understand from where am I getting this 2x plus 5? I'm saying for the last 2 days. I'm saying for the last 2 days, let's say X men were working. Each man is working how many units? 2 units. So total as X men would finish what? 2x units. There are 5 women and each woman is doing 1 unit. So as a group of new number of men were X and women were 5. So they'll finish 5 units. So 2x plus 5 will be the work done by the group in 1 day. They are working for how many more days? 2 more days. And in 2 days, they'll have to finish the job. How many units? 110 units. Does it now make sense, Ishan? Okay. So that brings me to the end of the session, guys. Thank you so much. Day after tomorrow, we meet once again for the time, speed, and distance set of questions.